I'm definitely optimistic about AI in general, but I think it will hugely depend on the exact way we implement it. So in our report, we show that in an optimistic scenario, you can boost GDP in the public sector, but across the economy as a whole, by up to 13% in total. But in a worst case scenario, you could adopt AI widely, but have exactly 0% additional increase in GDP, because if it's simply used to make things cheaper, but don't actually produce better output or more output, then we basically lose the opportunity that is inherent in AI. My second point is, next to that we need to steer us towards this positive scenario, is that it's uncertain how long this will take. So I wouldn't bank on a huge productivity gain within the next few years. We know from the adoption of information technologies that it can take a long time for productivity to really take off. And thirdly, we must not forget, we must not approach this as just a silver bullet to fixing all our public services. We know there are structural problems that we need to fix first before we can really deliver the benefits of AI.
Sure.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting you mentioned the Industrial Revolution, because in hindsight it's of course a huge success, but we saw that at the time wages of ordinary workers nosedived, and it took them decades to recover to the levels they had before. Similarly, female labor force participation dropped massively and did not recover for more than 100 years. So even though technological revolutions can be incredibly beneficial, they can also be very disruptive for many groups. And if you look at the power of generative AI and what it can do, I'm certain it will have a very disruptive effect. And we need to be cautious, not just to chuck AI at every problem and hope for the best. We really need to think about what could be those disruptions and put in place scenarios. You know, it might all turn out very well, and policy doesn't have to do much, but we need a scenario where we have significant disruption, where we need to support people into new jobs, where we need to support automation-proof jobs, and also where we need to think about redistributive effects.
The thing is, the IPPR has also talked about protecting jobs. Is it really about protecting jobs, or surely it's actually about protecting income rather than specific sectors? I mean, nobody wants to do a boring job, a job that can be replaced by AI, surely?
Absolutely. I think it's both. I think it's protecting incomes and making sure people have a safety net in case there is a large-scale disruption. But secondly, I think we need to also manage the transition to whatever comes next. And I think one point to start is to look at what are the jobs and tasks that we really want humans to do. And this is in caring professions, this is frontline work in public services, such as the NHS, it is frontline work in education. So, and we know we have huge shortages there. We have a crisis in terms of care and health professionals not having enough time. So can we use AI to actually free up time of people and protect this human touch that we want people to do? And I think policy has a big role to play here. I used to be a financial regulator at the Bank of England, and I think the notion that innovation and regulation are somehow in contradiction is a wrong one. So the UK has really good and effective financial regulation, and at the same time has one of the most dynamic financial sectors in the world. So good regulation and stability is the backbone of a thriving industry. And also, I agree we shouldn't rush to sort of clamp down or something on AI, but that's not what we do in other sectors either. There is something like called outcomes-based regulation, where you basically you're clear what things you want to ensure, but you give industry and regulators that apply the regulation, you give them leeway for interpreting it and adapting it over time. And the UK, in fact, is now behind in terms of advancing AI regulation, and the government has helped different regulators like the FCA like the the ICO and others, has provided funding, but only 100 million to boost up their AI capabilities. That is vastly insufficient if you think of that regulatory budgets are in the hundreds of millions. So we really need outcomes-based regulation, catch up with the global standard, and we need more investment for regulators to do their job.
A final thought on what happens to the UK if we get this right versus getting it wrong.
Sure. If we get it right, then we have safe AI. So safety is, as I say, is the backbone of a thriving industry rather than an afterthought or something we fix later. And secondly, I think it should be preserve the role of humans in the economy. Free up people's time so they can do tasks where the human touch is important. And support this with policy, support this through a job-centric industrial strategy. And then thirdly, make sure the gains are evenly distributed. We know that owners of AI systems will likely benefit hugely, whereas those whose jobs are at risk, mostly in back office positions, their income is at risk. And so making sure the distributive effects are addressed, I think those three things, this is the third thing of what good looks like.